Hello, this video is brought to you from the Student Learning Center via Learning Comment. I will have information at the end of this video about how to get a hold of me. Today, we are going to talk about Revit 2 or Building Information Modeling. Here is the schedule, so to say, for what we are going to talk about today. We are mainly going over phasing, everything you need to know about Revit. The last thing I wanted to say was that if you have not had Revit in a while, definitely go and look into the Revit 1 tip sheet full of really good tips. This Revit tip sheet is actually specific to this class. And so it really gives the real world perspective to this project. All right, so let's get to it. So speaking of walls, I wanted to go into some of these interior walls, and then we'll also talk some more about demolition. And so this hallway does get demoed. We can see here that in the new construction plan, it no longer has walls. I also want to point out how important it is, again, to align things correctly. Be really intentional about where you're putting things, making them look as clean and as realistic as possible. The column would come first because that's part of its structure. Obviously, a column would not be built, on top of those walls or anything like Revit is making it look right now. We would put it in the correct corner and then put those walls right up to the edge of that column. The model in place, you're doing two in this project. One is the reception desk, and then one is this wall in the reception area. This wall, because it is a model in place, it's not just a regular component. You are drawing it yourself. And when you draw something like this, it automatically is a three-dimensional object. However, you need to tell it the dimensions. Another thing, I'm going to say it again, is always name things correctly the first time. Take the time to type it in so that then in your families down in your project browser, you're not wondering, oh, well, where's that wall I made? I can't find it now. So just name it correctly. You'll be able to find it in your families down at the bottom of the project browser. This is a little bit of a cheat. This is just a detail line that I'm drawing so that at a foot, so that I know where to snap this arch to. Okay, and that's going to be super, super helpful pretty much with anything you draw. I use detail lines all the time. Also, don't be afraid of this tool. This arc tool tends to freak students out because it moves around so awkwardly, but just play with it and get to know and get comfortable with how it moves. Also, anytime that you get one of these alerts, read it. Oftentimes you can just ignore them. Here, that's really important, I drew an extra line, and so I need to get rid of that line to be able to check mark it and move on. Always have to check mark something before moving on. Make sure that you're no longer in the tool. Those blue arrows are also really important. You're going to see them in lots of different places. Walls have them, and so that helps you move things. And so here, as you can see, we've got lots of arrows, and it's kind of hard to see what's going where. But don't be afraid to pull on one, and you should be able to get used to pretty quickly which arrows are going which direction, okay? So that wall wants to go all the way up to the interior wall. All right, so now going into curtain walls. I know that in Revit 1, we talked a lot about curtain walls. We make several of them. We put doors into them, but this is oftentimes the one that stumps students the most. Unless it specifies a class, always use a curtain wall storefront is really important because it's got built-in mullions. The other walls don't. So again, you're going to name these. It's the blue, yellow, green. They all have very specific parameters. And so now we can see the difference between that one that I changed and the ones that a student had put here before. So again, make sure to name everything correctly, make sure you're changing those parameters correctly, and making sure you're knowing and understanding the difference between all these different wall types. So here we are at the doors, and this is really important. As we can see here in the 3D view, one is much bigger than the other. This one is too small. So we have to change that. The door actually changes to the width of the panel the panel does not change to the width of the door. It has to be a 6-foot door. So we need to redraw this curtain wall and then change some of those parameters. We need to make sure that those panels, the piece of glass in between the two mullions, is actually 6 feet. And so that's where it becomes important that we change that vertical grid. It's usually a fixed distance and then 6 feet. It needs to be around 14 or 20 feet. We want to center it as best as we can. And then we have to change the verticals, right? So that's what just happened. We want 6 feet in between each one, which makes it then 3 panels. Also, again, this little arrow that I've shown before flips the wall. So right now I am trying to grab the specific panel that I want to change into a door. But as you can see, I'm having a little bit of trouble, and this is so common. So you want to make sure that nothing is pinned, first of all. Then sometimes there are nuances in the properties, but this is the thing that you might want to change. It should say empty system panel. Again, don't be afraid to change these things and just kind of see what they do. See if they make a difference. See if they just make your life easier. And so I'm going to flip it so it's exterior. This time I got what I wanted. I got to click on that blue line. So really look at this for a moment, because just like everything in Revit, a component usually has 3 different ways to click on something, and they all do different things. Here in the properties, it is showing us the system panel glazed. So then in this pull down, assuming that you have already downloaded the correct door that you want, it's the double storefront door. So once you've got it, you then change that panel into the door. You're not going to the doors tool to find the door to put in. So I hope that all of these things help you moving forward in your project. I know that it is a lot to take in, and so hopefully by doing it by sections helps you be able to go back and reference something as you're actually working in it. As always, please feel free to reach out to me. You can email me directly, or you can email the Student Learning Center. You can also schedule directly with me or any other tutor that is at the MyWC. If you do not know how to schedule, please reach out to the library or the Student Learning Center. So happy Reviting and good luck.